a bit weird, right? Yeah, I'll just go.
Doing 1, 2, 3, and people move to the front because that works better with this session if we're in the front. Okay? Please move to the front because the latecomers will need to sit at the back. And we need people in the front, please. Yeah. The difference between a bus driver and a preacher, you know what it is? No. The bus driver says, move back, and the preacher says, come front. شو هنجا چی میکنی؟ اجازه نیست. هر چیز میفهمی. You guys know.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome here. Glad to have you here. You have come to a great session. We are going to have a good time here, and I'm just delighted that you've been able to come. My name is Howard Moore. I am not the presenter. I'm just the host. And there's just a couple of things that I'd like to mention before we begin. First of all, this breakout session is entitled Helping Your Church Understand Islam. So I just wanted to mention that in case you came into the wrong one. But don't leave. Stay if you did, because it's going to be really interesting and I think very profitable. Before I introduce our presenter, though, I do want you to know that this session is being live streamed, and it will also be put up on our YouTube channel. So please know that your image may appear on the live stream broadcast. If you don't absorb all of the content in this session, or if you'd like to see any of the other sessions that you will not be able to attend, the video of each session will be available after Mission Fest is over on our YouTube website. And out of respect for our speaker and all of the other attendees, I'm also going to ask if you would ensure that your cell phone is on silent. Our presenter is Arley Lowen from Operation Mobilization. Arley has lived and worked among the people of Afghanistan for over 40 years. Arley specializes in Perso-Afghan cultures, with an MA in Persian Studies from Pakistan and a PhD from the University of Toronto, from the Department of Middle East Civilizations. He co-founded and directed Pamir Ministries, a media and discipleship ministry to Afghan people for over 30 years. And just late last year, he transitioned from that leadership. He and his wife Janice continue as ministers at large among Afghan people around the world. We are very privileged to have him in our community here. Let's give Arley, even though he is a Manitoban, let's give him a warm welcome to this particular Mission Fest.
Thank you. And salam. Again, salam. We know that word well. I think millions of people in the world greet each other with that word. That's an Arabic word, and it's closely related to its sister language word, which would be, what would salam be related to another language, very closely related? Shalom. Okay. So we know that Arabic and Hebrew are related to each other. Now these languages are Semitic languages, and they're big on consonants. So every word, or almost every word, is boiled down to 3 radical consonants. And then you build words by throwing in vowels and prefixes and suffixes and stuff like that. So this is the SLM word, or the SH-L-M word. So some of you have heard me do this before, and I'm speaking to a choir who knows all this stuff, so I think this is quite easy. Give me another SLM word that's related to salam. Can someone give me an SLM word? Okay, there we go. That's the first time, I think, in all of I've done this so many times. Who did that? You are too well known. Okay, so Islam is the religion that will give salam. Now I'm speaking from the Muslim perspective, right? So let's now move beyond Islam. The Arabic love prefixes. You know what a prefix is? We know that? Guys, prefix? Yeah, we all know. We learned that. So prefix is a little thing in front of a word. And they love prefixes that start with M. So give me an SLM word that has an M prefix. Come on. What? There we go. This is too easy for you guys. Oh, I gave you yourselves away. So the Muslim believes in Islam, and then they have salam. Now, one more word that we don't have in English is taslim. So taslim means to surrender. So that's another SLM word. So the Muslim taslims to the Islam, and then they have salam. Can you repeat that? That's Islam 101. I will do it one more time. The Muslim is the person who believes or taslim, surrenders to the Islam, and then they have salam. Can you repeat that? This would be, if I was teaching Islam 101, you would have to write that down. Anyway, many greetings. My name is Arley Lowen, and that's the introduction. I'm going to try today to squeeze 5 seminars into 1 hour. And many of you here know about Islam, but I see this also as a lesson on methodology of teaching Islam in our Sunday school classes or workshops, people that want to reach out to Muslims. There might be some Muslims here. I know that there's people from Muslim background here, so correct me if I say some wrong things. But I believe it's important as we relate to Muslims that we understand Islamic theology to a certain extent and how it relates to Christian truth. And I try to teach Islam to as much as I can from the Muslim perspective, so that we can go into their world to see how they understand revelation, Jesus Christ, God, and so forth. And then by understanding their perspective, it helps us to not always walk past each other so much. So what I'm going to share is some things that I've learned from David Shank. Some of you may know him. He died actually 1 year ago, just 3 days back. And he wrote many books on Islam. And Keith Craig also has been influential. Now, one other thing. This seminar requires volunteers. And if you're not going to volunteer, this is not going to work. It's a kinetic type of seminar where we have to be involved. And you'll have to then be ready to have your face on the video, but you will not have to speak anything. Basically, hold up signs and maybe move from one place to another. So thank you already, those in the front, for volunteering. We won't need much time to get people to volunteer, therefore. All right. So I think most of us know about the Taliban. I'm very closely, not connected to them, but know about them because of Afghanistan. They came back to power in 2021. And the Taliban to this day, all is well in Afghanistan. The women are doing well. We have freedom of speech. And what is their framework? It's all well within Sharia law. That is their framework. And while Muslims around the world have different perspectives about what is Sharia law is basic for a Muslim. Believe certain things and practice certain things. And then you will have what? Salam. The Sharia law, in one sense, is the Islam. So, the big deal is not to think so much about God, because God is too big. We cannot know God. The classical theologians said that, and my classmates in Pakistan, my Muslim classmates in Pakistan, told me that. Rather think about the creation of God and the Islam of God. Or a simple way we could say it is the will of God. And so if the Taliban will have a special police force to make sure that you will do the will of God and you don't do what is not the will of God. So, how will a Muslim find the will of God? God has given the Islam, the message, to humans that will show them what is God's will and what they should do. He has given them the Islam for the Muslim, and then they must taslim to that, and then they will have salam. So, here's the key theological question. How does Allah's will come to humans? Where and what is God's will? So, I need someone now to play the role of Allah. It just means to go and hide yourself. Please, quickly. Okay? Here. And you already are 1, 2, 3, 4. The next. Go.
Where am I going?
In the back. In the essence of God are what's called the guarded tablets, which she has just taken. The Lahwe Mahfuz, or the Kitab, the mother of books. So what's in there? What's in the mother of tablets? What's in there? Sorry again? The law. What? How? In what form? But a Muslim will ask me, when he finds out I'm a Christian, do you believe in the books? So you said Quran. What's in there? Do you believe in the books? 4 people. Can you come to the front? Do you mind? Do you mind? Are you okay? And find out what's in there. You're hidden. You know one's... No? Okay, you can listen. Because no one can see God. That's John 1:18. Muslims believe that. Jews believe that. Take out what's in the guarded tablets and come here to the front. Okay? Quickly march out in front here. What is in the guarded tablets? And hold it up for everyone to see. And Allah, you've played your role now. Now you can, you've done your role. Okay. For Muslims believe not just in the Quran, but in 4 books. Do you believe in the books? 4 books. Now, I'll explain these books later on. Some of you know them well. Some of them might be strange. How do the books get here? Who gets the books? Who do you think gets the books? Say again? One, or do you use plural or singular? Plural. How many? 4 prophets. 72. Muslims believe in 124,000 prophets. So you're pretty close. And now, we don't have 124,000 people. 7 is close enough. Are you okay to come? Are you okay? Are you okay to come? Okay, we have 6 here. We need 1 more. Okay? 7 what we would call mega prophets. Line up in front here, but in the second row. Line up in the second row. And quickly now, we don't have time to get into what's called chronological order according to Christianity. Look at these prophets and get into chronological order. Who is first? Do you believe in while they're figuring out their Bible stories, do you believe in the prophets? Do we believe in these people? Okay, who's first? Abraham is first? Adam, get first. Adam is first. Okay, is that correct? Okay, ooh, we're a little bit. Where should Noah? Noah, I think, comes a little bit sooner. Okay.
Where?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah, let's go in here. Do you believe in the prophets? Muslims, I said, 124,000. Sometimes they have 5, sometimes 6 or 7, what we would call the Anbiya Azim or Ulul Azim. How do they call them? The great prophets. Do you believe in them? And my professor in Pakistan, I had 2 years Muslim professors, and he always said Muhammad is the greatest prophet. So one day I raised my hand, why is he the greatest prophet? So he asked me, who's greater, Adam or Abraham? What would you say? I said Abraham. Yeah. And then he said, who's greater, Jesus or Abraham? Yeah, of course. So who's greater, Muhammad or Jesus? According to the Muslim. Every prophet who comes after is greater than the one before. So Muslims believe that Muhammad continues the line of the prophets. Muslims believe that Muhammad corrects what was wrong with the prophets, or what not with the prophets, because they're sinless, at least according to the Shiites, what the people have done wrong. And then Muslims not just continues, not just corrects, but that he completes the line of the prophets. Now, we've got one problem here. We got the books, and we've got the prophets. How do the books get to the prophets? Because Allah is too far, too transcendent. He doesn't get that close. So who gets the books to the prophets? You shouldn't say anything. You know all this stuff. Jibreel, okay. Do you believe in Jibreel? Who believes in Jibreel? Come, please. Yeah, you raised your hand. Thanks for volunteering. Okay, well, actually 2 people volunteered. You come and help him. But maybe, what's your name?
Larry.
Larry, you studied Islam before?
That's what nice people call me.
Well, you're very nice. I'm nice to you. Larry, and what's your name? Kyla. So let's see. Now, this is not Islamic theology, what I'm going to do now. This is what Arley Lowen has introduced himself. Larry and Kyla. So you got 4 books, but 7 prophets. You got to get the right book to the right prophet. This is your job as Jibreel. So which book goes to which prophet? You know, you got 4. There's 4 books. These are books that Muslims believe in. And they say those books, Jibreel, you are this messenger. You are sent by God to bring these books to the prophets. Get them to the right prophet. See if you guys can do it. No, some of you know this very well. You can help, but let's see if they can do it. Okay, Injil. Oh, this is very good. Okay. Larry, you do some too. Who gets Torah? Okay, who gets Torah? Okay, and Zabur. Wow, you guys are too good, Larry and Kyla. Thank you. Adam, you never got a book. Noah, you never got a book. Abraham, you lost your book. So you guys got to move down. Okay. And thank you, Jibreel. You did the best I have experienced in all my seminars. Doing a great job. Thank you. Thank you, Larry and Kyla. Thank you so much. Okay. Now, what I would like is if each person could come and stand beside your prophet, those that you held the books. Okay, move over. Okay, and grab the book so that you're together. Okay? So move further over. So grab the book and you grab the Quran. Okay? So Muslims believe in the Torah of Moses. Do you believe in the Torah? Muslims believe in the Zabur of Dawood. Do you believe in the Zabur? Probably read it this morning. What is the Zabur? Psalms. Do you believe in the books? Muslims ask me. Torah, Zabur, and then the Injil. You've got to be a little bit closer together here because you're the book and the prophet, okay? So, Torah, Zabur, Injil, Quran. 4 books. Do you believe in the books, they ask you? Every Muslim, as far as I know, you can, on planet Earth, whether they're fundamentalist or liberal or whatever, they believe in 4 books. But and do we believe in them? Do we believe in Torah? We have the Torah. Do we believe in the Zabur? I hope you read it every day. The songs of David and Injil. What does the word Injil mean? It's actually, it's the Arabized version of the Greek word euangelion, evangelical. Muslims believe in the evangel that was given to Jesus. Do you believe in the books? Now, you guys move a little bit further down. No, you move this way. Okay, but what's the problem? Muhammad said, because he had a lot of problems with his people, that they didn't believe his message, the Quran. So he said, check out the Torah, check out the Injil, because those books will write about me. In the Quran, at least 25 times, we have the Injil and the Torah mentioned. It talks about me. But what happened? He never got to read those. That's at least what most of us people think. He assumed. And then when people later on read these books, and there is not a prophecy about Muhammad in these books, what was the narrative? The narrative is that these books have been mansukh, abrogated, or changed, or lost, or corrupted, or various types of narratives. And so today, Muslims around the earth believe in 4 books, but the 3 books that we have in our Bible, they do not have access to. And that's the job of us mission people, to get the books to the people that believe in the books, but they don't have access to the books, and bring them to the books. So, all of you can sit down. I need you two to stay here briefly and move right into the middle. No, you stay up. And right in the middle, and you move on one side and you on the other side. On the other side. And so, here is the Islam. The Quran, and then Muhammad's life and sayings, which we call the hadith, the traditions. And then over the centuries, there's been the jurists and the consensus of the Muslims, and along with reasoning and analogy. And these 4 aspects, I don't really get these 2 very much because I'm not a lawyer, but these 2 make a lot of sense. And this gives the Islam the guide for Muslims. These 4 things. And I need to spend more time figuring out what ijma is and what qiyas is, but these 2 work together because you've got to think what's in the Quran, because you don't just take a verse out of the Quran and say that's the law. You've got to think it through. You've got to analogize it, and on and on and on. So this is the Islam that Muslims taslim to, and then they should have Islam. So, thank you very much. You can take your seat. Let's move right on. Oh yeah. Let's move on to then the summary of the Sharia law. What's the summary? I was going down bicycle in Kabul, and on Friday they have these Muslim speakers. They have the loudspeakers, not this way, but they have the loudspeakers outside. And so I heard this preacher, it's Friday, prayers, not the Sunday. He was preaching, you Muslims are all sinners. And you are such bad sinners that not even the non-Muslims think that you're Muslims. And I stopped. This sounded like a Billy Graham sermon to me. What? Because then he asked him, do you know how to get your sins forgiven? Wow. How do you get your sins forgiven as a Muslim? What did he say? What do you think? Sacrifice? That's a big one. Say again. Have you said your prayers? Have you said your prayers? So, I now need 10 people. 10 people, and come along. Quickly here, 10 people. And you can summarize Islamic Sharia law with 5 deeds and creeds. I don't have that up there. So what I want you to do, there's 5 creeds. 5 of this is creedal, and 5 of this is deedal, or doing things. So the deeds go on one side, and the creeds go on the other side. And if some of you want to do that in your small groups here, you can do that in small groups. If you want to hand some of these out, so long as I get them back, Reuben, if you can hand some out. So get into 2 groups, 5 creeds and 5 deeds. I don't care what side is what. No, the 10 together. To a group, just random groups. Okay. Are we correct? Let's see. Okay, what is this group? What are you guys? Deeds. Confession. Okay. Right. Okay, so we've got, if you want to summarize the Sharia law, the will of God, there are 5 things that Muslims must believe in, and 5 things that Muslims must practice. And we'll hold this up high. One of the big things that Muslims must practice is prayer. Have you said your prayers? So I want the confession. Can you come on to this side first? And then fasting, move further down. Maybe pilgrimage at the end. It's hard to, so we have one God, then we have the books. Let's do the books. And then the angels, because they sort of bring the books to the prophets. That's sort of how I divide the creeds and the deeds. So, and some of you have them yourself. And what I do in the class, then you look at these 5 creeds and the 5 deeds. Which one of them could we resonate with as Christians? Or which ones would not resonate with us as Christians? Which ones would we reject? Would we reject one God? Would we reject the books, the angels, the prophets, judgment? Do we reject any of them? Maybe the understanding of them? Yes, but not the actual creed. Confession means we confess there is one God and the prophet. And then we do the prayers that confess that. And then the alms, fasting, and pilgrims are more other ceremonial deeds that they do. So this gives a great discussion of how we could practice just understanding what connects with Christians, how we could resonate with them, and how maybe there might be quite big differences. And we'll talk about that. Now, what I want you to do is, back when I was a kid, we used to play London Bridge. Do you still play London Bridge in your age? You don't know what that is? Do you guys know what London Bridge is? You know what London Bridge is. Okay, I'll take so you are one side of the bridge, and you're on the other side of the bridge. So those that don't know how to play it, teach the others how to play London Bridge. So make a London Bridge. Okay? Yeah, like this. Yeah, make a London Bridge. Make it, stretch it enough so that I can. So this, wow, move a little bit back because I need to stay back here with the video. Move right, okay. This we could call the house of Islam. The house that is secure and that is at peace, because house of Islam will have salam. In here, the Muslims, taslim to the Islam, and all is well. Everything is good. The book has come down. The law has come down. We come together as a community, and as a community we practice the will of God, and all is well in the house of Islam. And then what happens? What happens in the house of Islam? I'll get out of here. What happens in the house of Islam? Politically. Well, politically, Israel moves into the middle of it. America moves into Saudi Arabia, and something gets compromised, and that cannot happen. And so those that are very concerned to ensure the house of Islam is clean, then they will use violence to clean the house of Islam. Now you can continue outside the house of Islam would be the house of harb, the house of war. So that means in here is peace and outside is war. Now they've developed different other theories as well, that there's something in between the house of war and the house of Islam. So our calling as followers of Jesus is to get into that house of Islam, to live there, and to show the way of Jesus in this house of Islam. Thank you very much for doing this. So now you know how to do London Bridge, but we also do a song. I haven't done the song, but I would like to do a song, and Vijay, I didn't. You guys can take a seat. There is, I don't know, is it going to be a lot of work to get this song? I forgot to ask you to do, we can't do that? If you can, you don't spend too much time, but this is a song of the statement of faith that Muslims believe in. And this would be perhaps their most basic statement of faith sentence. O ye who believe. It's the surah. Okay, that's now taken off, so I can't quote that. And those of you from a Muslim background, can you say it by heart? Just the other day, someone said it by heart. Surah 4. Can you say it by heart?
No, but it's there.
It's still there. Okay. O ye who believe. But can someone say it by heart in Arabic? Kutubihi or rasulihi or can you do? Oh, you never grew up as a Muslim, so yeah. Anyway, O ye who believe in God and His apostle and the scripture. And it's kind of controversial. Is it scripture or scriptures there? I don't know Arabic well enough to decide. Which He has sent to His apostle, and the scriptures, which He sent to those before Him. Anyone who denies God and His angels and His books, it's plural, kutubihi. There were 4 books there, and actually there were more books, but we don't know where they are. His apostles, all those 6, 7, and many more, and the day of judgment. Anyone who doesn't believe in that is actually not a Muslim. So and I've heard this many times. So you saw the books up there. If I don't believe in the books, I am not a Muslim. So are we able to do it? Vijay, won't it work? I should have asked you beforehand, and I just missed it on that. Sorry? Okay, the song is there on the it's YouTube. It's on the YouTube channel. That link there. Let's see. We'll give yourselves just a short time. Let's see. Okay, as we go.
No matter what the world
Now we've got
may say. Sure.
We had the Islamic song. Now, this song that we're going to maybe hear is not standard song that Muslims sing. Just some very popular pop Arabic group put that scripture into song, and it's actually very attractive. But if we get it, Vijay, it's fine. If you don't think it'll work, we'll leave it. And we can maybe put the link up and you can listen to it. It's amazing. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, here we go. We'll listen to about 4 minutes of it.
محمد رسول الله الله Faith is belief in Allah and the messengers, the angels and the final day and the holy scriptures. To believe in destiny that good and bad both come from Him, and the resurrection. There is no God but Allah. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله الله Allah is the creator of heaven and of earth. Nothing may compare with Him. He is the one alone. The prophets, best of humankind, to all nations and all tribes. Last of all, Muhammad, mercy to the world. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Allahu formed of light and beauty, the angels of the Lord, to praise Allah, to help mankind. Jibreel brings the word, the scriptures all by Allah sent, Torah, Psalms and Gospel, then the source of perfect guidance, the glorious Quran. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha.
Torah, Psalms, and Gospels. They are sharing that with us. Now, thanks a lot for doing that. We want to get back to the slides. So, the main confession is one God. And they sang that also and made that very clear. We believe in one God, the Tawheed. Now, one of the biggest challenges that we have is not so much in the books. That's an issue, because Muslims will say that the books that you have, the Torah and the Psalms and the Injil, that's not the book that Muhammad talked about. And so those books that you have in the Bible are actually not the books. And you can argue that back and forth, and our response is, at least read them. If you say they've been changed, check it out, find out what's changed. But anyway, you could argue that. But the big issue is God is one. And so we come with Jesus. And we love Jesus. And so who is Jesus? Is Jesus the Son of God? Yes. Is Jesus God? Yeah, which one is He? Who is he God or the Son of God? Make up your mind. How can He be both God and the Son of God? And so you guys have, a distorted idea of Jesus. Because when we say Jesus is God, we are coming as Trinitarians. And when they hear Jesus is God, they are coming as Unitarians. And that's why we go past each other. And that's why I do not tell a Muslim Jesus is God. Because he is listening as a Unitarian. And we don't believe Jesus is God as Unitarians. But what in the world is Jesus the Son of God? Even that is controversial. And just the other day I heard someone ask the question, well, what should I do now that I'm a Christian? Do I pray to the Father? Do I pray to the Son? Or do I pray to the Spirit? Which one of these gods do I pray to? And so there's this confusion that Muslims have about our understanding of Jesus, the Father, and the Spirit. So what do we say? Now, we could go into hypostatic union discussion, use Greek categories and so forth. The allegory or the metaphor I like to use is the metaphor of the sun. Now this woman or this girl, where is she sitting? Is she sitting in the sun or in front of the sun? Where is she sitting? In the sun or in front of the sun? Yes. And so this is one I haven't yet been able to do too much kinetic unless we have a window out there. And then I love using the window, and I say, come on, go sit there in the sun. What in the world is the person sitting? In the sun, or is he sitting in front of the sun? And so the sun to me is perhaps the best allegory or metaphor. I mean, all these examples break down, but Jesus is the Son of God, as the light in which the lady is sitting is the ray of the sun. And it's impossible for the entire sun to come here to planet Earth. It would destroy all of us. But the light has come. And Rumi, one of the most famous poets of the Persian world, said, Oftab omad dalile oftab. The sun has come to prove the sun. And that's what Jesus has done, has come to prove the sun. And so, as the rays of the sun are from the sun and are the sun, so Jesus is the Son of God, is from God, and is God. And in the same way, you can use the story of the great river, and it's so great. It's the awesome river where you have the water of life that will provide eternal life for all of us, but it's too great. We don't have access to it. But coming from it is the stream from that great river. Now, the water in the stream, what is the difference between that water and the water of the great river? And so there we have the nature of Jesus is the same as nature of deity. So we say Jesus is divine. We can say that freely, and I say that freely. Instead of saying Jesus is God, it would mean that Jesus is the great river. And that creates, again, issues of Unitarianism and Trinitarianism. So that's a very short response to their story, to their question. Now, just another one, sitting in a taxi in Kabul, and he asked, "Oh, you're a Christian?" "Yeah." "Oh, you believe that Jesus is God's boy, God's baby boy." And we really work that up at Christmas, don't we? Jesus is God's baby boy. And it doesn't say that in Scripture, those words, God's son, which is another big meaning. And so you have 3 minutes, because the taxi driver is a limited time. He's not a theologian, but he thinks theologically. He's not literate. So how in 3 minutes will you explain to this taxi driver, is Jesus God's baby boy? How will you do it? Will you use Greek categories and hypostatic union and all of that? How do you explain that? This is a great question to ask when you're teaching Sunday school and then you get into groups. How do you explain that? I wish we had time now. I'll just share how I explained it to that taxi driver, and I've heard my colleagues explain it. And this, I told them a story. And the story, to make sense, Herat is a city in Afghanistan. I said to the taxi driver, one day I went to the market, and this really happened to me, to buy some potatoes. And I was buying the potato seller doesn't even look at me, and he says, "Oh, are you a son of Herat?" And as soon as I said that story to the taxi driver, he understood. What does it mean when he asked me, "Are you a son of Herat?" Sorry? Do you live a little bit more than living there? It's deeper than that, because any random person could live in Herat. What does it mean, are you a son of Herat? No, that doesn't mean. From, use the word from. Are you from Herat? That's what I think it means. Are you? So, we have the old Canada song, "Oh Canada, our sons." What does it say again? It's so long ago since I sang that. Our sons and all our sons command. Who are the sons of Canada? And the daughters. Who are they? Lift up your hand if you're a son of Canada or a daughter of Canada. Canadians, that means what? It means we're from Canada. We are Canadian. Jesus is from God. He is divine. And I don't know, that helped. I've heard that many times. So you ask, you're a daughter of where? You're a daughter of what city? "Oh, I'm a daughter of Kabul." In fact, Benazir Bhutto, who was killed about 25 years ago, she wrote a book, Daughter of the East. Or was it Daughter of Pakistan? I can't remember, but used the word daughter. So we use familial language to explain origin. From. So, where are we now with our lessons? Okay. Now we're going to go to lesson 5. So we did lesson 1 was Salam and all that. Lesson 2 were the books and the prophets. Lesson 3 were the creeds and the deeds. Lesson 4 is this about God and the Son of God and so forth. I got 2 more lessons, and I hope then we'll have time for questions. When are we supposed to end, Howard? Or Howard has left? 45. Okay, we've got another 20 minutes, so I can actually slow down. Wow. But I'll leave the questions for the end, because I'm sure you're beaming with questions. I might have been speaking too fast. So, another question that we ask, or that we hear, is Muhammad or is Islam a religion of peace or a religion of war? And we hear that constantly, or we talk about that. Maybe not so much nowadays as when Al-Qaeda was big and when ISIS was big. We heard that a lot. Nowadays, maybe we're over it, but still, it's a big thing, because we said that Islam is the religion of salam, the religion of peace. So, the way, and there's many different ways to explain whether it's a religion of war, a religion of peace. You can read the books by Muslims to explain it, and the books by Christian apologists who explain it in different ways, take out verses from the Quran and so forth. So, the way I explain it is through the 2 Muhammads. And the Muslims have done themselves a disfavor by how they have organized the Quran. But we'll get to that. So, I need someone to play the role of Muhammad. Can someone play the role and be the mascot of Muhammad? All you have to do is move from one place to another. Ali John, okay. You can do later on, you'll be Jesus, okay? Put this up here. Ali is my good friend from Afghanistan, and I've known him for over 20 years. So, Muhammad, you are actually up here. You were born in Mecca. Okay, you are in Mecca. So this is the place where Muhammad was born. Now, when Muhammad was born, Mecca was a city. Let's get my papers organized here. Muhammad was a city of idolatry. And so Muhammad, I hope you can all see that, Muhammad, along with the Arabs, the Qurayshi tribe, and other Arabs, worshipped idols, and they had this harem of 360 idols, and Allah was one of the idols, the greatest one of the 360, and that was the way they made their income, through trades. Caravans came through Mecca, and since they governed this harem, there was a lot of trade going on, and of course a lot of religious events, and the tribe of the Qurayshi ruled Mecca and had their income through that way. And Muhammad was a merchant and did trades like other Arabs did trades. And in those early years, Muhammad had one wife, Khadija, who was 15 years older than he was, and she was a merchant as well. And she saw in Muhammad an honest businessman, and they married and they continued their trade. And then Muhammad, he's a seeker after God, and he goes off into the mountain. And he goes into the mountain, and he comes back, and he hears the one message. And he presents the one message to the Arabs that there is one God. And he preaches that message to the Arabs, that there is one God and they must repent. And repent means leave your family ties and so forth and so on, and turn to the one God. And this is the amazing thing. And they do say their prayers, get on your knees. But you don't even know how to say the prayers, Muhammad, because you never were a Muslim, really. But they said their prayers like Daniel did, facing Jerusalem in those early years. Now there's some who are disputing that. There's another whole theory of all that Mecca didn't exist and Muhammad didn't exist and all that. Jay Smith believes that. So that's another seminar you can go when Jay Smith comes here. Okay, you can. So they prayed towards Jerusalem because, Remember the line of the prophets. Muhammad believed he continued what all these other prophets who actually were Jews, and so he continued. But the Arabs mocked him and didn't believe him, and so he suffered a lot of persecution in Mecca. And so in the process of the persecution, what happened? Now this we won't do, but he actually got on a horse. He had a vision. It's called the mirage. And in the mirage, he gets on a horse and he flies to Jerusalem over there. And so you go all the way to Jerusalem, sort of the Mount of Transfiguration, gets to Jerusalem, to the Masjid al-Aqsa, to the furthest point where today is the Masjid, one of those two mosques that are there on Temple Mount. And that's where the story goes. And then when he got to the Temple Mount, from here he ascends to the heavens. And he gets to heaven, I don't know, the different heavens, and negotiates with these different prophets that we had here on the stage before, and they talked to him about, not so many prayers a day. And so they talked him down, I think it was from 50 prayers a day all the way to 5 prayers a day. So, and then he got down, and then he went back to Mecca. But he still faced a lot of opposition. And so some people from the city of Medina who are having problems among themselves come to Muhammad because he's becoming somewhat of a statesman, and they invite Muhammad, because he's having problems in Mecca, and they invite him to come to Medina. So hold the sign up. And this, as Muhammad and his people travel to Medina, this is the start of Islam. This is the migration, the hijrah, when they begin Islam. June 622, and their calendar today starts with zero at hour 622. And so here in Medina, Muhammad's message becomes much more a political message. And turn around. And his calling is from God to overthrow that Meccan power of Arab merchants, to overthrow that Meccan house. And so, what happens here in Medina? His jihads. So here you can turn around again. The jihad, the holy war, as you have to weaken the Meccan base, and the Meccan base is based on trade. And so he would attack caravans that come towards Mecca and others. And there were some major battles, and some would say he fought 6 battles. If you all count all the little ones and the ones that he delegated, there were over 25 battles and jihads that were part during his life. You can turn around. And what was very unique, in Mecca were in Medina here, were 3 Jewish tribes. And the Jews thought when Muhammad comes, he would support them. And Muhammad thought that these Jews, because they're people from these prophets, they will support him. And it clashed. And the Jews didn't support Muhammad, and so Muhammad and his people opposed the Jews. And so there's different stories of what happened. One tribe was exiled, another tribe was executed, and a third tribe, the men were killed, and the women and children were taken in as slavery. So that was a bad end for the Jews, and that could be the birth of what we hear of so much antipathy between Muslims and Jews happened there in Medina. Muhammad instituted public worship there, because when he came there with the camel, where the camel stopped, that became the focal point of place of prayer. And then he issued edicts, laws, and they started the constitution of Medina that all the Arabs in the Medina and the area, they signed, and that's where we would then start the Sharia law. And Muhammad then very wisely made tribal alliances to bring all the Arab tribes together under his rule so that they could eventually go back to Mecca. So go back to Mecca. 2 years before he died, he goes back to Mecca, enters the harem, and cleans it out, does a cleansing just the Kaaba remains there. And so then he cleanses that out, and comes back. During the time, all this of the tribal alliances, He then has multiple marriages that are more political alliances, and like 9, 12, 13, depending on who you all include. And so this, and then of course the place of the minorities develops and so forth. So, what's the point? Most of the Quran that we have, that Muslims have, come from his time in Mecca. About 80% of the surahs are Meccan surahs. And only about 20 surahs are from Medina. That's the last part of his life, the last 10 years of his life. The word jihad and the word qatl, Q-T-L, in different forms, which is the word to kill, come in this period. There's a few places in the Meccan period. So during his Meccan era, Muhammad did not preach jihad, or hardly preach jihad. And while he was in Medina and came into power and was the ruler of this new domain, this is when he preached jihad and qatl, which is to fight or to kill. And you have it's about 160 times the word jihad comes. I think another 140 times the word qatl comes. 90% of all those words come from those 20 chapters. Now, what I said, Muslims do themselves a disfavor. When you read the Quran, how is the Quran organized? It's not organized in chronological order. It's organized in long to shortest order. So you don't know, unless if you read the fine print in the beginning, is this a Meccan chapter or a Medinan chapter? During COVID, we did an online course on the chronology of the Quran, and so we decided to read the Quran in a chronological order. So you read chapters all over the place and you find that the early chapters were truly messages like the Old Testament prophets. The later chapters are much more political, with edicts and orders and laws and jihad and so forth. So that is why I talk about two Muhammads, the Muhammad of Mecca and the Muhammad of Medina. Now, so quickly, where are we now with time? Let's compare that with Jesus. You want to come and do Jesus? Oh yeah, during that time, when the Jews refused to follow Muhammad, then Muhammad switched the direction of worship from Jerusalem back to Mecca. And it's very clearly spelled out in the Quran. Never says the word Jerusalem, but it talks about the other place to the new holy place. But get back up here. Beautiful story. Jesus is in Galilee, and he sets his face like a flint. He also has a journey. And he travels down to Jerusalem, and he knows what lies before him. And we're entering that season of Lent, and this is the walk of Jesus, his Lent towards Jerusalem. And what does he do in Jerusalem? What is the difference between Muhammad's journey from Mecca to Medina back to Mecca and Jesus' journey from Galilee to Jerusalem? One is a journey moving into war. One is a journey moving towards the cross. And sadly, we have made the cross, it has become crusades. And then, just quickly, can you come up here? This I get from Ken Craig, and when the Roman Empire, you move right up to the top, Roman Empire, right to the top, fought for who was going to be the emperor. Constantine, this is about 320, was up in Britain, and there was a fight for who would be the new emperor between two guys, two generals. And so Constantine is way up there in Britain. There's a fight for the emperor. And so he travels with his army towards Rome. And he has this vision of the cross, he says, and he defeats the other general and becomes the new emperor and institutes Christianity as the new religion of the Roman Empire. So we have three journeys: the journey of Muhammad, the journey of Jesus, and the journey of Constantine. As followers of Jesus, which is our journey? It's a great one to discuss. Great one. Okay, we're going to thank you so much for that. Are we now finished? We should stop. Okay.
Well, we actually, I don't know if I'm on.
Yeah.
Something happened there?
Yeah, just We got 4 minutes according to my...
That's right.
Okay, 4 minutes. So I got one more, the mosaic of Muslims. Okay. Who hasn't volunteered up here yet? Just hold up a rope here. I need 2 people to hold up a rope. Okay, come on with someone else. You two, okay. So we're going to talk about mosaic of Muslims. Just very brief in the last few minutes. Just hold the rope up, because we know that all Muslims aren't like the Taliban, nor like all Muslims are not like Al-Qaeda. And I see the 2 billion Muslims that are on planet Earth are like this rope. And now I am running into an... Okay, here we go. So, make it a tight thing. So on the one side over here, we would have the jihadist. Then on the other side over here, we have the secularist Muslim. And both still would say that they're Muslim. The secular Muslim and the jihadist. And the jihadist, of course, would follow the second part of the surah. And then in the middle, we have the traditional Muslim. And you can move them all over the place here. And I put as many different signs up here as you can imagine. So then I have the fundamentalists. Now the fundamentalists could be 2 kinds. You have the fundamentalists that would be, they're probably all radical, but some fundamentalists would advocate a non-violent approach to fundamentalism, and others advocate a jihadist, violent approach to fundamentalism. And on this side you have the secularist and probably the cultural that just want to sort of do like Salman Rushdie, who said he was a Muslim. He was more a cultural Muslim. And the modernist would still hold to the Quran and take the Quran from the 7th century and bring it to the modern world, while the fundamentalist wants to take the modern world and bring it back into the 7th century. And these guys in the middle, the traditional and the devout, they're the average Afghan, the average Pakistani, and so forth. And they sometimes move to this side, and then they sometimes move to this side. And so this helps me appreciate that there are many different Muslim groups. We are aware of that first, and I can't do this on a rope. You know, the Sunni and the Shia, those are the 2 big subgroups, of course. Both of them would fit onto this. So the Iranians, you would have so many that we meet here in Canada would be on this side. And then the Iranians, can I say this joke? No. Is any Iranian here? No, I won't say this joke because this is an Iranian joke. That wouldn't be nice for a non-Iranian to do that. So, you have on that one side, the political side over here. Salafis is the word that's used most nowadays. Salafi means descendants or being close to Muhammad and his colleagues. So the Salafis are the people that want to go back to Muhammad and his era. So that's the Salafis. And then on this side you have atheists, cultural, and secular. I should have added modernists there. It's amazing how many Muslims have become atheists in the last 20, 30 years, and it's actually a huge movement in Iran and Afghanistan and Egypt and so forth. And then you have the devout and the traditional there in the middle who sort of move all over the place. And then you have mystics and folk Islam, and then you have the Ahmadiyyas and the Baralawiyas, and on, many different kind of Muslims. So that, I think we're all aware that it's a mosaic of Muslims that you meet. They might be somewhere on this rope. Well, they will be on this rope, but not necessarily all on this side. And so the Muslims on this side will reject these Muslims, and the guys on this side will reject those Muslims. My problem that I have is that often these Muslims are not loud enough in rejecting those Muslims. And sometimes they say they're not, or they say they're not even Muslim. But what are they if they're not Muslim? So that's another whole issue of discussion. So I've said enough. It's 5:45 now. And Howard, should I field questions or should we dismiss? And those that want questions can stay.
Yeah. I think likely that's what we're going to have to do is thanks for all this information. Wow. Fantastic. And the way you set it up, This is a great way of helping us to retain all of it. Thank you very much. We appreciate it very much. Just want to make a couple of points, and then we'll throw it open. That if you want to come and ask questions, you can just come on up and go ahead and ask Arley. Thank you for joining us here. If you're needing prayer, we do have some people here who would love to pray with you. You know, if God's tugging at your heart because of what you have just gone through here, and you say, you know what, I know some Muslims, now I know more about this, I'd like to really minister. I'd like to really be a person that shares Jesus with them. How do I do it? And so you can come up and ask a lot of questions here. If you would like prayer over that, I invite you please to come. Let's do that. So basically, this is the last seminar or breakout group that we have for the day. And the next thing is, well, those of you who would want to grab something to eat, and then we have the plenary session this evening. So I'll let you go at that. And again, if you want to come, Arley will be here to answer any questions you have. Thank you for coming, and God richly bless you. I trust as you go, you'll pray.
Thank you. So if you have questions, maybe just come up to the front, and then others might want to respond as well. Thank you. And yeah, those with cards, we can, sure.